it's a pleasure for me to introduce our next panel. We are going to talking about exactly everything you need to know to keep your wallet safe. Carlo Parisi here, and Carlo Parisi is a co-author of Mastering Ethereum, second edition. So big applause for Carlo.
Because I've never arrived with a less prepared speech than this time, because I know this topic very well. I've been in crypto for 12 years, so I do know a thing or two about how to keep your wallet safe. So I'll start with introducing myself. Right now I'm a auditor, so I track smart contracts, so it's not directly related with the security of your seed phrase, but it's still security. I've been a lead developer, as you said earlier, second edition, and I'm also an Italian content creator. The topic of self-custody, closer? Okay, perfect. The topic of self-custody is a bit complicated because most people either don't know about it or don't want to talk about it. They don't want to disclose their own security, how they keep their seed phrase safe. And so it's a topic that it doesn't get discussed as much. It gets discussed when the way that the seed phrase is kept is very bad. Like I almost only heard very bad ways of keeping your seed phrase safe. So today we will see, it's here. We will see how to keep it safe, the best practices, how to conduct regular self-audits, how to plan for your inheritance, this very shortly, and practical step to protect your asset, which is from the best practices. So the first thing is that a seed phrase is not for everyone. If my mother wanted to get into crypto, I will not tell her to do self-custody. I will tell her to go on Binance, on Bybit, on BitGet, on whatever, and just keep the money there. Because she's more of a danger to herself than an exchange being insolvent. So the first step is to understand that self-custody is not for everyone. You don't need self-custody unless you can handle self-custody. So most people here probably do self-custody. So do you have Ledger, Trezor, MetaMask? Raise your hand if you do have self-custody. You do? Okay. The self-custody actually requires a lot of due diligence, which we will arrive to probably the next slide. So there is two concepts in the security of the seed phrase. There is the security itself and the ease of recovery. You can think of a seed phrase in two ways. There is one seed phrase that can never be recovered by anyone because the backup is lost, nobody saved the seed phrase, and that's technically the safest one. Like nobody can ever access it and can never access the money on a seed phrase that nobody has a backup for. So you do have a spectrum where one seed phrase is not recoverable, and one seed phrase is like you have a tattoo of your seed phrase so everybody can see it. So you have a spectrum where everybody can see your seed phrase and nobody can see it. You need to find your right balance in the spectrum. And you balance it by doing either security or improving the ease of recovery. So whatever you do in your OPSEC system will either improve the security or the ease of recovery for your seed phrase in general. This will make much more sense when we arrive to the practice. This is exactly what I said now. Let's see the next slide. Okay, so this is the contrary of a best practice. So this is what I see most commonly. So it's the mechanism to keep your seed phrase safe by complexity, which should be the first one. So I've heard a lot of systems that involve something like putting your seed phrase into images with software that is not yours, so you don't know if you will be able to recover it from the, I think it's stenography, the way of putting text into an image, into the metadata, or splitting your seed phrase, or saving it in a encrypted way on a piece of paper. Complexity should not be a way to keep your seed phrase safe. Like, you should not utilize additional complexity to keep your seed phrase safe, because professional will probably be able to still get your seed phrase, and if even professional cannot recover it, when you need it, you will not be able to recover it yourself. So complexity is not a way to actually keep your seed phrase safe. You should do best practices, which is, for example, utilize a ledger instead of utilizing a multisig if you're not technical. You should not create your own code for create the entropy of your seed phrase. You should utilize things that already exist, and in this way you are trusting software that is written by someone else. But if you're not extremely technical, the best practice is to actually trust someone else, because enough money has been protected by, for example, Ledger, Trezor, or other wallets. So the first step will be to absolutely avoid complexity at all costs. The simpler the system, the better it is. The second rule is something that is not really followed. I could here tell you almost everything in my system to keep my seed phrase safe, and that should not lower the security of my seed phrase. So obfuscation should not be a best practice to actually prevent someone from stealing your seed phrase. One secret, for example, is the seed phrase itself. So there is something that is a secret, but the old system in general should not be a secret. I could be here and tell you almost everything in my system, and it should not be a problem. So if you have a system in which telling most of how you keep your seed phrase safe is a problem, then you should change it. Obfuscation should not be a best practice. As I said earlier, do not split your seed phrase. Most people, when they have a 21, probably, yeah, okay, I need to come closer. Most people, when they have a 24-word seed phrase, they think if I split it in 12 word and 12 word, the security is half, which is completely wrong. Like, the security from 24 words and 12 is not half. Like, getting the seed phrase with 12 words is much easier, exponentially easier than getting the 24 words, which means that if you have a 12-word seed phrase and you split it into two, so 6 words and 6 words, then if somebody ever finds 6 of the words, they can actually brute force the other 6. So if you are splitting a seed phrase, you're not splitting the security, you are reducing it like a lot. So you should never split your seed phrase and think that that's a viable solution. Also because for your own sake, you need to recover also the other part, so it makes it harder for you. As I said earlier, there is two faces of the coin for security. There is the security itself, and there is the ease of recovery. So when you actually have a seed phrase, you should worry about other people, either getting robbed by other people or someone else finding your seed phrase, or you yourself not being able to find it. So you are very much of a threat for your seed phrase, as are other people. So you should be careful of what you do, because most people, they just lose the seed phrase. Nobody comes, nobody steals their money. It's just them that they have a bad system and they lose it. So you should never split it, because this makes it harder for you to actually find it and easier for other people to find it. So you take the worst of both worlds. And again, avoid multisig unless you're technical. This is kind of self-explanatory. For example, in Ethereum, they are not native. We do not have native multisig. So the problem is that, number one, you're again trusting the code of someone else, which if you're doing it, for example, with Safe, it's kind of okay because it's more tested, but there is other multisig that might not be audited or safe. And in general, it's a bit harder to use. there might not be complete compatibility with everything, so it's better to not use the multisig unless you know how to use it. So to go against the not best practice, you should keep it simple. So you should, as a base for a system, you should have something like an hardware wallet. So you can have other devices. There are other devices similar to hardware wallet, but in general, for compatibility and everything, I will suggest an hardware wallet. The brand doesn't really matter. I mean, they all have risks. Ledger has risks, Trezor has risks, but just go with some of the most famous ones, which are the two that I just mentioned, and you should be fine. Just be careful when you buy another wallet that they have the compatibility with what you want. They have BIP 44, BIP 39, so all the Bitcoin improvement proposal that you actually need for the chain that you want to use. After that, you need a backup. So you need at least a piece of paper where you save your seed phrase. Usually a piece of paper is not great because on the piece of paper you have to write it with a pen, which in like 10 years it could go away. So you could not have your seed anymore in your backup. So usually you will use something like, let's see if I have a picture. No, this is, nope. Okay, there is something like the Keep Metal from Trezor, also Ledger is other one, but there is a lot of different way of saving your seed phrase on metal instead of paper, which is the preferred form. So you should have another wallet, a backup, possibly more than one, in possibly metal form, so you engrave your seed phrase instead of writing it with pen. Other than this, you will need a tamper-proof bag, like this one. So you put your metal key inside of here, so you know if someone has ever opened that and has had access to your seed phrase. And other than this, you basically need to move your backup away from your other wallet. So this will be the simplest system. You have another wallet, a tamper-proof bag, a Keep Metal, and two geographical locations where in one you have the other wallet, in one you have the Keep Metal in the tamper-proof bag. So this is the simplest system, and then you have to adapt it to yourself. For example, I've been traveling for the past 3 years, so my system has had to adapt to me because I'm not in the same geographical location at all times, so that made it a bit harder to actually keep the Ledger and the Trezor and the other wallets completely safe, especially if for example, a Ledger broke and I needed to recover it. So the simpler system is the one that I illustrated, and then you have to adapt it to yourself, to your lifestyle, to your needs. Some system might require you to pay, I don't know, like 500, 600 a year, so maybe you don't want to pay the money to have it. So there is different trade-off, but you should keep it simple and not diverge too much from what I told you right now. Again, you should back up your seed. That should be on possibly not on paper, so on something that can withstand natural disaster. So if there is a flood, if there is fire, if there is something, the metal is much better than paper to actually save your seed. They should be in different locations, and again in a tamper-proof bag. You should also consider a passphrase, which is something that you can save also online. So normally, the base advice for seed phrases is that you should never save it online, which is true. Like, never save your seed phrase in a digital form. If you have ever done that, change it completely. Create another one and send all the tokens there, because the only thing that the hardware wallet does for you, for your seed phrase, is that it actually keeps your seed offline. So if you ever put your seed online, you should change it completely. It makes no sense to have the ledger anymore. So for the seed phrase, you can actually, Do you know what the seed phrase is? Like everybody knows what the seed phrase is? Okay. So, you don't know it? So when you actually create a wallet with the seed phrase can be considered as the master key. So to derive all of your private key from bit 44, what you do with your seed phrase is you take your seed phrase, so 12 or 24 words, and you utilize a hash function 2,000 times, and with your seed phrase you utilize the word mnemonic. So essentially, what happens is that your seed phrase is utilizing hashing function with the word mnemonic. The 25th word is essentially removing the word mnemonic from this process, and they add something that you personally decided. So if you want to add your 25th word as Belandi, you can have it. So you can decide that instead of mnemonic, your security now is connected to the word Belandi instead of as it is standard with the So the seed phrase is essentially a personal word that gets inserted in as a 25th word or passphrase, and it changes the security. You can have multiple passphrases on the same hardware wallet, but you need to remember it. The point is that the 25th word, the passphrase alone, doesn't do anything. So if you only have the passphrase, it's like having the password for a computer without having the computer. So it doesn't matter if you save it online. You can save it, for example, in Bitwarden. You can have it online. Also because if you have a passphrase, so you have a 25th word for your seed. So let's say that on your keep metal, on your backup, you have 24 words. So to recover your other wallet, you have 24 words. If somebody ever got your 24 words, they could brute force your 25th. So when they take your 24 words, you're not safe anymore. So even if you have a passphrase, you should move your funds as soon as possible, because the passphrase is brute forceable. The maximum amount of character, I think, is 100. So they can just brute force your 25th word. So it is an extra security step, because when for example, in Ledger itself, you can have multiple PIN. So when you actually have a passphrase, for example, if somebody enters your own, they know that you have crypto, you could enter a PIN for the wallet without the passphrase, where you have a little bit of funds, so you send that to them instead of utilizing your main wallet. So there is utility in having a passphrase, but it is very much brute forceable. So if somebody ever got your 24 words, you should change the seed as soon as possible. As I said earlier, but I will repeat it because this is the thing that people don't understand the most. Well, they understand it when I say it, but then they say, oh, the system is too slow to put in place. I don't want to test everything. I don't want to buy new like tamper-proof bag or the metal keep. Because the system is not that cheap. Like, imagine that you have 3 other wallets because you want to you have the 3 other wallets because you want to decentralize the risk. Maybe you don't trust that Ledger has a great entropy algorithm, so you decentralize. You use 3 different hardware wallets. You should do this thing 3 times. So you should have multiple geographical locations. So possibly at least 4. So 1 for one backup, 1 for backup 2, 1 for backup 3, and 1 for your other wallets, which are safe. And in this case, you can use banks actually. Like banks have the vault. Banks are not safe to keep your money because they might not give it back, but they are very safe when it comes to vault. Like if you actually go and you get the, how do you call this? Cassetta di sicurezza. Yeah, exactly. The safety deposit box. If you have that, it's actually very safe. So you can keep the 24 word in a tamper-proof bag with the 25th passphrase, because as I said earlier, if you have a passphrase and somebody gets your 24 word, you need to change them as soon as possible. But if somebody robs a bank, that's a very big news. So you're gonna know, and you're gonna know that you actually have to update your wallet. So you can actually use as geographically separated locations. You can use banks, which is what I personally use, for example. As I said earlier, you should have something that can resist natural events. So if fire is a threat to your whole security system, maybe the security system is not great because fires do happen. If a building getting flooded is a threat to your whole security system, is not a great security system because floods do happen. So you should reduce the risk that something like a natural event can really put your backup in danger. Again, secure location and tamper-proof bag. And the last step is something that I've actually never heard anybody do unless you are Andrea Antonopoulos, which is the guy from which I copied this, is the self-audits. So you should try to recover your seed phrase at least once a year. So at least once a year, you fake like having lost your seed phrase. Like you don't have your other wallet anymore. You buy another one. And you say, okay, now I will try. What if I actually, my other wallet actually broke? Like, what are the steps that I need to take? So you go in your safe deposits in the bank, you open your tamper-proof bag and you buy another one because you need to exchange it. You open your keep metal and you actually test if you can recover your wallet. Because most people just do a bad system and keep it like this for years without ever testing it, without ever trying if they can actually recover this seed phrase. And as I said earlier, I'm a content creator in Italy, and I receive a lot of requests of people saying, can you help me recover the seed phrase? Which I say no, because I don't want to know their seed phrase. But their system is so bad that it will be impossible for me, even if I wanted to help them. So what you need to do is you need to create the seed imagine that you just, for the first time that you need to do the audit. So you just bought a new hardware wallet. You create the seed, you save your address, you set the wallet, which has no money on it because you're still testing it, so it might be not, like you might have saved the seed phrase wrongfully. And then you try to recover it and see if the address that you receive on the resetted hardware wallet is the same as before. And you should repeat the process at least once a year. So at least once a year, just open the tamper-proof bag, open the metal key, try to find your seed phrase again, because it might be wrong. You might have saved it wrong. You might have no access to the backup. Something might have happened. So you should test it multiple times. Let's see. Okay, so then there is crypto inheritance planning, which this book explains it much better. We don't really have a perfect system for this. It's still very hard because crypto does not really allow for a simple way to do it. There is a few ways. For example, if you really want with a multisig, you could do it. The problem is that most of the ways of getting the inheritance on chain, so without any notary or any external person, requires technical ability from most of the participants, which, for example, if your mother is included in this, if your 2-year-old son is included in this, might not be ideal. So there is, for example, other services like the letter to the loved ones that include having a letter given to a notary that will send it to people when you actually die. And there could be the seed phrase, but there is a risk because you're putting your seed phrase in a paper and giving it to someone. So we don't really have a perfect system for inheritance yet. Probably they will come because we do have systems, but they are fairly technical for now. So for now we don't have easy and available inheritance systems. So let me repeat everything before we go to questions. You should have trusted hardware wallet. It's the simplest and easiest solution. So going with hardware wallet is what you most likely want to do. If you don't have one and you only have hot wallets, please make the switch, because if you at least have $300, it should be enough for you to say, okay, I need to start improving my security, and I need to start to learn how to actually protect my crypto, because hot wallets, like the normal wallet of MetaMask, can easily be stolen with a lot of malware that go around. So if you have hot wallets, you could lose everything very easily. You should have a secure backup. So you should have something that is not paper, is geographically dislocated, it's in a tamper-proof bag, and bonus, you can have the seed phrase that is not saved with the backup, but is saved online, like on Bitwarden or any password manager that you want. You can consider an inheritance plan, because if you don't, like for me, I might say I'm too young to think about it, but it's different from money in your bank. If you actually never thought about this, if you die, your crypto are gone. So it's never too early to think about this, especially because I do extreme sports, so I actually need to think about that. And then you should do regular testing. So you should try to recover your seed phrase once a year. And to some, this system might seem a little bit boring because there is no cryptography behind images. There is no, I think I met a guy that liquefied plastic into a tube and wanted to deliquify his seed phrase. I don't even remember, but it was something like this. Like, I was thinking, this guy is crazy. He never tested it, so he didn't know if it was possible to actually get his seed phrase back, but he was convinced that that was the safest way to keep his seed phrase. So this might seem boring compared to that, because you don't do anything like that, but this is the best practice, the best way in general to keep your seed phrase. Then again, you need to consider your own necessities, your own funds, like for example, when I started being a content creator in Italy, my operational security OPSEC changed. So, for example, most of my funds right now are behind a seed phrase that I need multiple signatures to reach in at least 3 business days, because it's kind of a big bank, and I cannot access it alone. So if someone ever comes to my home and points a gun at me, I cannot give them the seed. Like, I don't have it in any way. So this is because I decided to become a public figure. So I thought, okay, crypto might get bigger, and if it does get bigger, they know that they will know that I have crypto, and since they don't know how much, they might try to harm me to get my crypto. So this is a system that fits my need of, my want of becoming a content creator. So you should change your OPSEC when your own situation in real life change. But this is the base system. Like, you should not change anything from this, or if you need to change something, you should not change much. This is a bit optional, but you should think about it. The rest should actually stay like this and then fit your own needs. And now we have the question. Does anybody?
Total beginner.
Yeah.
Ethereum address or Armstrong or one of the cheaper EM addresses. What's the tool that you can recommend for a total beginner? What is safe?
So for a total beginner, is it okay? No, I can hear myself. From a total beginner, first thing will be, again, do not trust yourself. So if you have funds, for example, on a centralized exchange, as a start, as you're learning, keep them there. Like, bring like 2% of it to start testing and see if you actually get the gist of it. Because being on chain is not that easy. Like yesterday, before I took a boat to come here, there was a friend of mine that told me I sent XRP without the memo, and now I lost it. So even when you don't lose your seed phrase, you might send your funds to a wrong address. So the first thing will be, don't move everything on chain at first. Secondly, will be decide a wallet, which probably Rabi is the easiest for a EVM chain for beginners. Rabi, R-A-B-B-Y. Yeah, with two B's. Yeah, like rabbits, but with a Y instead of a T. Is the easiest one. There is also MetaMask, which should be considered safer. The problem is that it really sucks. Like it has a lot of bugs, and it's not like with Ruby you have a lot of alerts, which are great if you're a beginner. Like they make you think. Like sometimes you cannot execute a transaction unless you say that you know what you're doing. Like if you interact with a new wallet, if you're sending them money and you never send money to this wallet, they will ask you to whitelist it. So you actually need to take time to read everything and see if you actually want to whitelist it, while MetaMask will just allow you to send money to the new address. Yeah, I will say Ruby as a wallet, which has compatibility with Ledger. Trezor is a bit bad, so if you're using EVM, I don't know, like I prefer Ledger. I've heard different feedbacks. I don't love to do, for example, DeFi on the Trezor, but that's just an opinion. So if I do download Ruby on an EVM wallet, I will go with Ledger. Essentially the trade-off between the two is that one is more famous, has more money on it, so we assume that it's safer. The other one is open source, so it's easier to attack. So we don't know which one is safer. We assume that both are safe enough, but we cannot know for sure. Like you never know for sure that something is 100% safe. So I will say Ruby, Ledger, and don't put money that you cannot lose in a dumb mistake on it in the first the first few transactions. So. Last question? Okay. Someone else? Your question?
Which sum of money do you think is the sum? This sort of system. Do you think there's a sum which is not thinking about the sum, or like if you have, let's say, hundreds of maybe thousands of months, several thousands, just not.
So like the system would include to buy, like you should buy at least Ardor wallet, like a keep metal from Trezor or something similar, and a tamper-proof bag. So it's like $20, under $20, and 60, around 200. So if you have double, like if you have like $400, you should start to think about it, because it's something that you don't pick up very easily. Like you need to learn it. So if you have at least $400. No. Thank you.